Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to have Mark Hanna with us today. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience and how it relates to the management information systems concentration. Let's welcome Mark.
So a brief background on myself for those who don't know me. I didn't go to college right after high school. I'll be upfront about that. I went straight into the military. I was in the United States Marine Corps, active duty for 12 years. So I've been very fortunate to be able to lead up to 100 Marines at a time in a war zone, in peacetime. And my occupation at the time was very similar to MIS. It was involving asset readiness. So it was my responsibility to report to Headquarters Marine Corps the readiness of all the equipment, from the weapons to the Humvees to the tanks, whatever it may be. And a huge part of that, it falls in the realm of logistics, but a huge part of that was the information system. And coincidentally, the military is still running MS-DOS applications, and I would get reports weekly. And you would think, wow, you know, you're a 911 fighting force, but yet I only could tell the Headquarters Marine Corps on Mondays this was the readiness of my equipment, which was very unique. A big chunk of that was supply chain management, and that's one thing that I focused myself on, and what became a strength for me in my career was I learned supply chain management. Sir?
Mark, where was this equipment being used? Can you disclose that to us, or is that all?
Sure, of course. Well, the last unit I was with the artillery unit, and in the military you typically have three. It goes by threes. So within a battalion you have 3 batteries. Within a battery you have 3 platoons. Platoons you have 3, so on and so forth. Well, basically I had equipment in Okinawa. I had equipment with the Navy out to sea. I had equipment in Iraq, and then I had our equipment here stateside. So then, when we did trainings, when we did war games, that equipment went out as well. So I had to keep track of where all the equipment was at any given moment. And obviously, I was the right-hand man to the commander. So the commander looked directly for me over all the other officers. Hey, what's the status of my equipment? Can we go? You know, can we do this mission? Can we do this patrol?
And you keep that all in big databases? And
Yes, it's all kept in a basic SQL Server database.
okay.
Yeah. And then for the supply chain management, going back to that, in order to make sure the equipment was ready, I had to ensure that it had repair parts. I had to make sure that tools were there for the mechanics, for all the technicians, whether it's calibration equipment, so on and so forth. And as far as visibility, and this is really unique, and this is a pretty cool story that's recent to me, is we were migrating the system over to a web-based application. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but basically the supply chain, I had to ensure that it kept the equipment up and ready. And the cool thing is the manufacturers for the Department of Defense, they come from Philadelphia, Boston, New Jersey. And so I would have daily reports that would show the movement of the supply parts, whatever it may be. And it was somewhat retarded because you really had to give assumptions for when I would brief a commander, I'd have to tell him, well, you know, out of your 10 Humvees, you know, you're 50% down because we just did a training op. They're down, so you're not going to be able to deploy, so on and so forth. And every commander wants they want that big medal, and they want to get the opportunity to go to Iraq or Afghanistan. So they want their equipment always up. And I had to give assumptions and say, well, you know, these repair parts are in Philadelphia. They're about to hit the railroad track. It's going to take 3-4 days to get here to California. And then once it gets here, it goes through this ridiculous process, which is very paper-based process. It exchanges many hands. That has a lot of opportunity for error because whenever you have a lot of human beings in it, unfortunately, that's the way it is. And then once it gets there, then it gets to the unit, supply shop, and then the supply guys, they do their admin and receipt for it, and the funds get transferred. And then it goes to the maintenance facility, and the quality control mechanic is usually a senior technician or mechanic. They induct the part, whatever it may be, and it goes through the whole process. And then I had visibility of everything, the entire maintenance cycle. And I would have to forecast based on information, in my experience, I'd have to forecast, is the equipment going to be up?
How valuable is this equipment? I mean, can you put some dollars on these things so we can kind of get an idea?
Sure. We figure a tank, an Abrams tank, the engine alone is a couple $1 million. And most of the repair parts for that are plug and play. So you don't really have a technician in there getting done the nitty gritty. It's more just plug and play for that. But it's highly expensive. And you figure 18-year-olds are responsible for this stuff. And that's the value add for going in the military. Essentially, as far as experiences you can put on your resume, I managed millions of dollars. I had that much responsibility. The government's the only one willing to do that, especially the military. But the critical thing that I want to bring to you all is why I went in MIS is because I understand the value of information. And when it comes to the art of war, and from a military standpoint, the two things where you'll lose a battle or a war is your supply chain and your communications, right? If the commanders cannot communicate with the front line, or if they can't communicate with the airplanes, and it's a three-dimensional warfare today, if they can't communicate, people are going to die, right? And if the information systems aren't there to allow communication, there's two things. Your supply chain, the information is not accurate, it's not real time, you lose your supply chain, people are going to die. If you can't talk, you're going to die. That's just the way it is. You have to be able to have it. It's very crucial. And the cool thing is, it parallels the corporate world completely. You know, I was at Cisco for a full year, and believe it or not, Wall Street's right. The analysts are right. I mean, to put it out there, there's a 15% delta as far as finances, meaning that marketing managers are making strategic marketing decisions with a 15% difference in what's really happening. So finance is saying, hey, we booked $1 million deal with Wells Fargo. The project manager's out there delivering a network upgrade. They're reporting this and that. And then when all that data gets back to marketing, or even to the product managers in engineering, it's 15% off.
It could be at least 15% off. And
At the
it could
least.
be a lot worse, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty scary. What I did was, when I went to Cisco, all I did was take the experiences I learned in supply chain management, and obviously everything I learned from Dr. Burkhardt. I mean, seriously. Once in B, I mean, systems analysis is so crucial. And if you just add some supply chain management methodology to it, you look into Six Sigma, do the mathematics, and you can actually see it costs this much money for this head count and so on and so forth. And you can really drill down and say, wow, there's inefficiencies here. You can diagram the whole process flow, the whole communication flow, the whole supply chain flow. It's the same modeling principles, and you identify the bottlenecks. Hey, it gets stuck here.
Yeah, so when did you decide that you actually need a degree to perform better or maybe move ahead within your career?
Sure. No, that's a perfect question. Actually, my last contract, and typically on the enlisted side, a contract is 4 years. I decided, well, you know what? I have $5,400 a year that's free for school that the military paid for. And I had a desk job, for crying out loud. And I had all my Marines I delegated. I was an effective manager, right? So my Marines are doing majority of the work, right? I was making decision making. So then I went to American Military University online, which is really cool because if I had to do field training, and if we did have communication with the internet, I could do my coursework. And my commanders were really lenient as far as that too, because, and this is a very key takeaway, teamwork. The military is all about teamwork, and that's kind of what killed me when I came to San Jose State is my mindset when I got in a group and did group projects is I thought the mindset was the same. You know, I'm an A student. I was very humble. I was fortunate to be an honor student here, and teamwork is everything. You know, just because I want an A, you should want an A too. It's 110%. That's just the way it is. And it's so crucial now, and you sit out in the workforce because knowledge workers are so easily outsourced, right? You know, I look at my fellow students here that were taking accounting, I'm like, dude, you can get a CPA out of India for $7 an hour. Why would you want to be an accountant, right? It's not like it used to be. Whereas MIS is perfect system analysis and design. One thing that sets you apart, that distinguishes you from someone in emerging countries, emerging markets, is your experience, right? Because if I have a 3.8 GPA and a guy in China has a 3.8 GPA, we're both MIS, what separates us? Because eventually, English is the language of business, and you know, what's going to separate you? Social networking is only going to get you so far. So back to your question, why did I figure undergrad? Well, one, I was working with a lot of lieutenants, training young lieutenants right out of college, and I was thinking, wow, you guys really aren't that smart. You know, because, I mean, guys and gals from high school could pick up material really quick, Generation Y, whereas these young lieutenants, geez, I'd have to spend days training them. You know, and here's another key takeaway. Training is paramount. Training is paramount anywhere you go. And it's an effective management tool. As a manager, the first thing you want to do that's priority is train your people. Train your subordinates. Because if you want to take a vacation, right, your subordinates are trained. And the reason why this is important, militarily speaking, is, and why the Marine Corps is so successful and effective, is if one person drops, the next person can pick up their pack, pick up their weapon. Everyone's trained. Everyone's on the same sheet of music. You know, the true difference in rank, you know, as symbolic as it is in rank is responsibility and authority. It's not you're smarter than me. I know your job better than me. It's merely I have the responsibility. The officers' bars are on their shoulders because they bear the weight of command, right? So again, training is paramount. Sir?
What would you tell a freshman that's entering MIS?
I'd say MIS is ubiquitous. You can go anywhere. When I was at Cisco, I worked in marketing. And marketing folks have a unique personality. And so as an MIS person, because you can work in marketing, because you can work in finance, operations, where have you, your social skills are key. So being able to understand MIS and communicate it is a strong point. So a freshman coming in, why MIS? It's the highest paying for a reason. It's always there because information systems are in any business model. You have to be able to communicate, whether it's by paper or digitally. And the senior leadership always depends on you, especially if you're designing information systems. Another good example, not necessarily military-wise, but something I'm working on right now, is I was thinking, well, and this is a challenge. We talked about in our MIS strategy class. I had Professor Shai. But what would you do to Facebook to make it better, if there's something? And we're signing the virtual NDA here. I don't want you guys giving out IP, but what would you do better? And this is something I suggested to Dr. Burkhardt is, well, what if, and this is a huge problem right now, is privacy, right? Privacy, your data, do you realize how valuable your data is, your personal data? And you're just giving it away. When you go to Amazon and you in that wish list and you say, hey, I'm going to buy an Xbox for Christmas, you know how valuable that is? That's a premium. Because then I can target you with ads. I can blast you on every device you have. Laptop, whatever it may be, I can target you, right? And this is an information flow. So if you think about this, if you follow LinkedIn where you have a public URL, basically you as a user, you can slice out what you want to be public, what you're willing to give out. So a business model or methodology I was thinking of is, well, I kind of like that. If I could just tweak my Facebook account to where I had full control over my data being a commodity, having a premium, I would sell it. So every company that I like or make a partnership with, they would pay me $1 for each little sliver of data. And if you want my whole profile, you pay me $5 a month. So if you become friends with 400, 500 companies times $5 a month, which is chump change to the company, you as a user, that's 15, what? Do the math. That's $2,500 that you can use to purchase other products and services from your Facebook account, right? And what's really cool about this is if you think internationally, just the Valley companies alone have trillions of dollars offshore that they don't want to bring in country. Why? Political reasons. They don't want to get taxed on it. But this is a mechanism where they can do that, and it would economically you feed the bottom and it comes right back up. Just one business model I was thinking of.
Yeah, I have a two-part question. Are you still involved in the military? And the second part is, are you planning on taking what you've learned, the MIS, to take it back to the military and improve their lives?
Awesome question. Actually, I did, and this is kind of unique. I had a friend, a math sergeant. He's in Okinawa, and this is no kidding. 3 weeks ago, he sent an email, and he said in Afghanistan there's an opportunity. They need someone with your occupational specialty that worked on those legacy systems, that has the information system knowledge of how the entire process works. And what do you think the pay was? 185,000.
I'll take it.
185K. And it's what made it so high was because I had a degree, but I had a degree in MIS. And having that information system degree is so valuable because when you're rebuilding a country from ground zero, or you're rebuilding infrastructure, government, I mean, if you can make a solid information system, it's going to last for years, right? It's going to last for years.
You supervise large numbers of people and large numbers of Marines. Some of them are young. A lot of them are working on technical things. How do you motivate them? What do you do as a leader to motivate people who are working with technical products, technical systems?
I'd say it's a lot of, it's social. For me, what drove me was it was such a pleasure to be 18, 19 years old and have a commander, a battalion commander, 18, 20 years in the military, super smart, come to you for advice because you're the subject matter expert. And it was the motivation, that was a key motivation. It was, that was a good feeling to know. It was good political power too. But it was such a great feeling to know that you're the subject matter expert and everyone comes to you. And your name just goes all over the place. And it's not like I was, humble about it. I just had the motivation to be the master of everything I did. And I brought that here to San Jose State when I went for my undergrad. Go back to answer your question. Well, it's not only just pay, but it was a personal goal of mine to get my bachelor's degree. I mean, the innovation is truly what's going to set you apart. And, just like I just gave you a business model with the Facebook thing, right? That's just innovation. That's free thinking.
But it helps, though.
Yeah, it does. I mean, in a structured society, yeah, it does. Having certifications does help and definitely do it.
Guys, let's thank Mark for coming today.